In the heart of America, where dreams are born and broken, one man dared to rewrite the rules. He wasn't born into power. He wasn't handed a silver spoon. He was just a boy from Medford, Massachusetts, with a restless mind and a stubborn heart. He would go on to build an empire that changed the world of business, media, and politics. He would face rejection, humiliation, and loss. He would rise, fall, and rise again, each time stronger, each time wiser. He would become a billionaire, a mayor, a philanthropist, and a symbol of relentless ambition. But behind the headlines, behind the billions, behind the legacy, there is a story few have truly heard. A story of grit, of heartbreak, of impossible odds. A story of a man who refused to quit, even when the world told him to walk away. This is not just the story of Michael Bloomberg. This is the story of what it means to fight for your place in the world, to build something from nothing, to risk everything for a vision no one else can see, to lose it all and find the courage to start again. This is the true story of Michael Bloomberg. And it begins in a small, unremarkable house, on a quiet street, in a town most people have never heard of. But what happened inside those walls would echo across the world. Because sometimes, the greatest empires are built in silence. And sometimes, the most powerful men are forged in the fire of ordinary days. But before the world knew his name, before the billions, before the power, he was just Mike. And this is where his journey begins. Before we begin, if you're inspired by stories of grit, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of greatness, make sure you subscribe to Untold Success, where the world's most powerful journeys are finally told. Michael Bloomberg was born on February 14, 1942, in the modest town of Medford, Massachusetts. He was the son of William and Charlotte Bloomberg, ordinary people with extraordinary hopes for their only son. His father worked as a bookkeeper at a local dairy, earning just enough to keep the family afloat. His mother, Charlotte, was the heart of the home, a woman of quiet strength and unwavering love. They lived in a small, two-story house, where every dollar mattered and every dream felt just out of reach. But inside those walls, Michael learned the values that would shape his life. Hard work, honesty, perseverance. He watched his father leave for work before dawn, returning home with tired eyes but a gentle smile. He listened to his mother's stories, tales of resilience, of hope, of never giving up. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and for Michael, that was enough. He was a curious child, always asking questions, always searching for answers. He loved to tinker, to build, to take things apart just to see how they worked. He was fascinated by machines, by numbers, by the hidden logic of the world. But he was also restless, never satisfied, never content to sit still. School was both a refuge and a challenge. He was smart, but not the smartest. He was driven, but not the most talented. He was determined, but not the most gifted. But what set him apart was something deeper, an unbreakable will, a refusal to quit. He worked hard, studied late, pushed himself further than anyone expected. He wasn't the star athlete or the class president or the most popular kid in school, but he was relentless. He joined the Boy Scouts, earning badge after badge, learning the value of discipline and teamwork. He mowed lawns, shoveled snow, delivered newspapers, anything to earn a few extra dollars. He saved every penny, dreaming of a future where money wouldn't be a constant worry. But life in Medford was never easy. The world outside was changing. War, uncertainty, the slow march of progress. But inside the Bloomberg home, there was always hope. His parents believed in him, even when he doubted himself. They pushed him to dream bigger, to reach higher, to never settle for less. And Michael listened. He watched his father's quiet dignity, his mother's fierce determination. He learned that success wasn't about luck or talent, it was about grit. It was about showing up day after day, even when no one was watching. It was about doing the right thing, even when it was hard. It was about never giving up, no matter how many times you failed. These lessons would become the foundation of his life. But as he grew older, the world began to pull him in new directions. He wanted more than Medford could offer. He wanted to see the world, to test himself, to prove that he could be more than just a bookkeeper's son. He dreamed of college, of opportunity, of a life beyond the narrow streets of his childhood. But dreams cost money, and money was something the Bloombergs didn't have. So Michael worked. He took every odd job he could find, saving every dollar, sacrificing every comfort. He watched his friends spend their summers at the beach, while he worked in the sweltering heat. He watched other kids buy new clothes, new bikes, new toys, while he patched his own, making them last just a little longer. But he never complained. He knew what he wanted. And he was willing to do whatever it took to get there. When it came time for college, Michael set his sights on Johns Hopkins University. It was a long shot, a prestigious school far from home with a price tag that seemed impossible. But Michael applied anyway. He wrote his essays, filled out his forms, sent in his application. And then he waited. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and then one day a letter arrived. He had been accepted. For Michael, it was a dream come true, but it was also a challenge. How would he pay for it? How would he survive in a world so different from the one he knew? He didn't have the answers, but he had something better. He had determination. He had grit. He had the lessons of Medford, the lessons of hard work, sacrifice, and never giving up. So he packed his bags, said goodbye to his family, and boarded a bus to Baltimore. He was scared. He was excited. He was ready. At Johns Hopkins, Michael was a small fish in a very big pond. He was surrounded by brilliant minds, ambitious students, and endless opportunity. But he never forgot where he came from. He worked part-time jobs to pay his tuition. He studied late into the night, determined to make the most of every moment. He joined clubs, made friends, pushed himself harder than ever before. He wasn't the smartest kid in the room, but he was the hardest worker. He graduated in 1964 with a degree in electrical engineering. It was a proud moment, a testament to years of sacrifice, struggle, and relentless effort. But Michael wasn't done. He wanted more. He wanted to prove that a kid from Medford could make it in the real world. So he set his sights on Harvard Business School. It was another long shot, another impossible dream. But Michael applied anyway, and once again he was accepted. At Harvard, the stakes were higher, the competition was fiercer, the pressure was relentless, but Michael thrived. He learned the language of business, the art of negotiation, the science of finance, the power of leadership. He made connections, built relationships, discovered a world of possibility. He graduated in 1966, ready to take on the world. But the world wasn't ready for Michael Bloomberg. Not yet, because the real test was still to come. But what happened next would push Michael to his breaking point and force him to choose between comfort and greatness. Armed with a Harvard MBA and a restless ambition, Michael Bloomberg entered the world of finance. He landed a job at Salomon Brothers, a prestigious Wall Street investment bank. It was a world of power, money, and ruthless competition, a world where only the strongest survived. Michael started at the bottom. He was assigned to the bank's vault, counting bonds and stock certificates. It was tedious, thankless work, but Michael didn't complain. He showed up early, stayed late, and did his job with relentless precision. He watched, he listened, he learned. He studied the habits of the successful, their discipline, their focus, their drive. He learned the language of Wall Street, the numbers, the deals, the risks. He made himself indispensable. Slowly, he climbed the ranks. He moved from the vault to the trading floor, from the back office to the front lines. He earned the respect of his colleagues, the trust of his bosses. But it wasn't easy. Wall Street was a brutal place. The hours were long, the pressure was suffocating, the competition was cutthroat. Mistakes were punished. Weakness was exploited. Michael faced rejection, criticism, and doubt at every turn. He was told he wasn't smart enough, wasn't tough enough, wasn't cut out for the job. He was passed over for promotions, overlooked for opportunities, but he refused to quit. He worked harder, learned faster, pushed himself further. He took on the toughest assignments, the hardest clients, the biggest risks. He made mistakes, sometimes costly ones, but he learned from every failure. He grew stronger, wiser, more resilient. He built a reputation as a problem solver, a man who could get things done no matter how difficult. But success came at a price. The hours were relentless. The stress was overwhelming. Michael sacrificed his health, his relationships, his peace of mind. He missed birthdays, holidays, family gatherings. He watched his friends build lives outside the office while he poured everything into his career. He wondered if it was worth it. He wondered if he was chasing the right dream, but he kept going. Because he believed in the power of hard work. He believed that success was earned, not given. He believed that every struggle was a stepping stone to something greater. But the world of finance was changing. Technology was transforming the industry. Old ways were dying. New opportunities were emerging. Michael saw the future before anyone else. He saw the power of data, the potential of computers, the promise of innovation. He began to dream of something bigger, something that could change the world, but not everyone shared his vision. He faced skepticism, resistance, even ridicule. He was told to stay in his lane, to follow the rules, to play it safe. But Michael wasn't interested in safety. He was interested in greatness. He began to develop new ideas, new systems, new ways of doing business. He challenged the status quo, questioned authority, pushed the boundaries. He made enemies. He took risks. He failed again and again, but he never stopped believing. He never stopped trying. He never stopped fighting for his place in the world. But the higher he climbed, the harder the fall. And Michael was about to face a setback that would change everything. This is where everything began to fall apart. In 1981, after 15 years of relentless work, Michael Bloomberg reached the pinnacle of his career at Salomon Brothers. He was a partner, a position of power, influence, and prestige. He had made it. Or so he thought, but the world of Wall Street is unforgiving, and loyalty is a rare commodity. A corporate shakeup rocked the firm. New management, new priorities, new faces at the top. Michael was called into a meeting. He was told in no uncertain terms that his services were no longer needed. He was fired just like that. 15 years of sacrifice, of sweat, of sleepless nights gone in an instant. He was handed a severance check and shown the door. He was 39 years old, unemployed, uncertain, alone. For the first time in his life, Michael Bloomberg had no plan, no job, no title, no future. He was humiliated, he was angry, he was lost. He had given everything to Salomon Brothers. And in return, he was discarded like yesterday's news. He wandered the streets of New York, replaying every decision, every mistake, every missed opportunity. He questioned his worth, his talent, his purpose. He wondered if he had wasted his life. He wondered if he would ever recover. But in the darkness, a spark of hope remained. He remembered the lessons of Medford, the lessons of resilience, of grit, of never giving up. He remembered his father's quiet dignity, his mother's unwavering faith. He remembered that success wasn't about never falling, it was about getting back up. So Michael made a decision. He would not be defined by his failures. He would not let rejection destroy him. He would start again. He would build something new, something that would change the world. But starting over was not easy. He had no job, no office, no team. He had an idea, a vision for a new kind of company. A company that would use technology to revolutionize the way financial data was delivered. A company that would empower traders, investors, and decision-makers with real-time information. A company that would become the backbone of Wall Street. But no one believed in him. He was told he was too old, too inexperienced, too risky. He was laughed out of meetings, rejected by investors, ignored by the industry. He faced setback after setback. He ran out of money. He ran out of time. He ran out of hope, but he never gave up. He mortgaged his house, emptied his savings, risked everything he had. He hired a small team of engineers, outsiders, misfits, dreamers. They worked in a tiny office with outdated computers and second-hand furniture. They worked day and night, fueled by coffee, ambition, and the fear of failure. They built, they tested, they failed, they tried again. They faced rejection, ridicule, and doubt at every turn, but they kept going because they believed in the vision. They believed in Michael. They believed that they could change the world, but the world wasn't ready. The industry was skeptical. The competition was fierce. The odds were stacked against them. And Michael was running out of time, but what he faced next nearly destroyed him. The year was 1982. Michael Bloomberg was on the brink of collapse. His savings were gone. His debts were mounting. His team was exhausted, demoralized, and ready to quit. The product, the Bloomberg terminal, was still unfinished, unproven, untested. The industry was uninterested. The future was uncertain. Michael was haunted by doubt. He questioned every decision, every sacrifice, every sleepless night. He wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. He wondered if he had let his family down. He wondered if he was chasing a dream that would never come true. He felt the weight of failure pressing down on him, crushing, suffocating, relentless. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. He couldn't escape the fear that he had lost everything. He watched his friends succeed while he struggled to survive. He watched his competitors thrive while he fought for every dollar. He watched his team lose faith one by one. He was alone. He was broken. He was at rock bottom. But in the darkness, a voice remained. A voice that whispered of hope, of possibility, of redemption. A voice that reminded him of who he was. He was Michael Bloomberg. He was a fighter. He was a survivor. He was a builder. He remembered the lessons of Medford, the lessons of resilience, of grit, of never giving up. He remembered his father's quiet dignity, his mother's unwavering faith. He remembered that success wasn't about never falling, it was about getting back up. So Michael made a decision. He would not quit. He would not surrender. He would fight for his dream no matter the cost. He would risk everything again. He would bet on himself even when no one else would. He would build the Bloomberg terminal or die trying. He rallied his team. He inspired them with his vision, his passion, his unbreakable will. He worked harder than ever, days, nights, weekends. He pushed himself to the limit. He refused to accept defeat. And slowly the tide began to turn. A breakthrough, a glimmer of hope, a chance to prove the world wrong, but the battle was far from over. But the world had no idea what was coming. It was a cold morning in 1982 when Michael Bloomberg walked into the offices of Merrill Lynch. He was nervous. He was desperate. He was out of options. But he had one last chance. He pitched his idea, the Bloomberg terminal, to the executives. He showed them the power of real-time data, the potential of technology, the promise of innovation. He spoke with passion, with conviction, with the fire of a man who had nothing left to lose. And for the first time, someone listened. Merrill Lynch saw the future. They saw the potential. They took a chance. They invested $30 million in Bloomberg's company. They became his first customer. It was a turning point, a moment of validation, of hope, of possibility. Michael's dream was alive. He poured everything into the company. He hired new engineers, expanded his team, improved the product. He worked day and night, driven by a sense of purpose, of destiny. He refused to rest, refused to celebrate, refused to slow down. He knew that success was fragile, that failure was always lurking. He knew that the world was watching. He knew that this was his moment, and he seized it. The Bloomberg terminal became a sensation. It revolutionized the industry. It empowered traders, investors, and decision-makers with real-time information. It changed the way Wall Street did business. It made Michael Bloomberg a pioneer, a visionary, a leader. But the journey was far from over. Because with success came new challenges, new risks, new enemies. And Michael was ready for them all. And this decision would define his entire future. The years that followed were a whirlwind. Bloomberg LP grew at a staggering pace. The Bloomberg terminal became the gold standard for financial data. Banks, investment firms, and corporations lined up to buy the product. Michael reinvested every dollar into the company. He hired the best talent, built a culture of innovation, demanded excellence. He pushed his team to the limit, challenging them, inspiring them, driving them to greatness. He refused to accept mediocrity. He refused to settle for less. He refused to stop growing. The company expanded, new products, new markets, new opportunities. Michael became a billionaire, but he never lost sight of his roots. He remembered the lessons of Medford, the lessons of hard work, sacrifice, and never giving up. He treated his employees with respect, with fairness, with dignity. He built a company that valued integrity, transparency, and accountability. He gave back to his community, donating millions to education, health, and the arts. He became a philanthropist, a mentor, a role model, but success came at a price. The pressure was relentless. The competition was fierce. The stakes were higher than ever. Michael faced new challenges, regulation, scrutiny, criticism. He made mistakes. He faced setbacks. He lost friends, made enemies, endured betrayal, but he never wavered. He never lost faith. He never stopped fighting for his vision. He became a symbol of resilience, of determination, of the American dream. He inspired a generation of entrepreneurs, leaders, and dreamers. He proved that anything was possible, but Michael was not content to rest on his laurels. He wanted more. He wanted to make a difference. He wanted to change the world. So he set his sights on a new challenge, a challenge that would test him in ways he had never imagined. He decided to run for mayor of New York City. It was a bold move, a risky move. He had no political experience, no party support, no guarantee of success. But Michael was never afraid of risk. He was never afraid of failure. He was never afraid to dream big. He launched his campaign, self-funded, unconventional, relentless. He spoke to the people of New York honestly, directly, passionately. He promised to bring his business acumen, his leadership, his vision to City Hall. He promised to fight for the city he loved. He promised to make a difference. The odds were against him. The critics were loud. The challenges were immense, but Michael never backed down. He campaigned day and night, meeting voters, listening to their stories, sharing his vision. He built a coalition of supporters, Democrats, Republicans, Independents. He defied the odds. He won. In 2002, Michael Bloomberg became the 108th mayor of New York City. It was a moment of triumph, a testament to years of struggle, sacrifice, and relentless effort. But the real work was just beginning. But what he faced as mayor would test every lesson he had ever learned. As mayor, Michael Bloomberg faced a city in crisis. New York was still reeling from the aftermath of 9/11. The economy was fragile. The city was divided. The challenges were overwhelming, but Michael was undaunted. He brought his business mindset to government, demanding efficiency, accountability, results. He tackled the city's toughest problems: crime, education, public health. He made tough decisions, sometimes unpopular, always necessary. He banned smoking in public places, improved public schools, invested in infrastructure. He championed sustainability, innovation, and economic growth. He rebuilt the city's economy, restored its spirit, renewed its hope. He served 3 terms, transforming New York into a model of progress, resilience, and possibility. He became a national leader, a voice of reason, of pragmatism, of hope. He inspired a new generation of leaders, showing that business and government could work together for the common good. He returned to Bloomberg LP, expanding the company, building new products, entering new markets. He became one of the richest men in the world, but he never forgot his roots. He gave away billions, supporting education, health, the environment, the arts. He built a legacy of generosity, of impact, of hope. He became a symbol of what was possible. He proved that one person could change the world, but Michael's journey was far from over. He faced new challenges, political, personal, professional. He faced criticism, controversy, and defeat. He ran for president, facing the toughest race of his life. He lost, but he never gave up. He never stopped fighting for his vision. He never stopped believing in the power of hard work, sacrifice, and never giving up. He never stopped building, growing, giving. He became a legend, a titan of business, a leader of government, a force for good. But behind the headlines, behind the billions, behind the legacy, he was still Mike, a boy from Medford, a dreamer, a fighter, a builder. But the true measure of his life was not in what he built, but in what he gave. Michael Bloomberg's legacy is not just measured in dollars or buildings or headlines. It is measured in lives changed, opportunities created, hope restored. He taught the world that success is not about luck or talent. It is about grit. It is about showing up day after day, even when no one is watching. It is about doing the right thing, even when it is hard. It is about never giving up, no matter how many times you fail. He taught the world that leadership is not about power. It is about service. It is about lifting others up, giving back, making a difference. It is about using your gifts to make the world a better place. He taught the world that failure is not the end. It is the beginning. It is a chance to learn, to grow, to become stronger. It is a test of character, of courage, of resilience. He taught the world that dreams are worth fighting for, that anything is possible, that one person can change the world. Michael Bloomberg's life is a testament to the power of perseverance, of hope, of relentless ambition. He built an empire. He changed a city. He inspired a generation. But his greatest legacy is the example he set, the lessons he taught, the hope he gave, the lives he touched. He proved that greatness is not reserved for the lucky or the privileged. It is earned through hard work, sacrifice, and never giving up. He proved that anyone from anywhere can make a difference. He proved that the American dream is alive. And he proved that the true measure of a life is not in what you take, but in what you give. So when you think of Michael Bloomberg, don't just think of the billions. Don't just think of the headlines. Don't just think of the power, the influence, the fame. Think of the boy from Medford. Think of the dreamer who refused to quit. Think of the fighter who rose from nothing. Think of the builder who changed the world. Remember that greatness is not a gift, it is a choice. A choice to work harder, to dream bigger, to never give up. A choice to rise after every fall. A choice to give more than you take. A choice to believe in yourself even when no one else does. A choice to make a difference. Michael Bloomberg made that choice, and so can you. Because the true story of Michael Bloomberg is not just his story, it is the story of all of us. The story of hope, of struggle, of triumph. The story of what it means to be human. The story of what it means to dream. So go out and build your own story, fight for your dreams, rise after every fall, give more than you take, and never ever give up, because greatness is waiting. And the world is yours to change. And if you want more stories of resilience, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of greatness, make sure you subscribe to Untold Success, where the world's most powerful journeys are finally told.